There we are. There we are. Good thing I didn't hit that yet. Yeah, I had some awesome feedback when I hit the mute button, and I said, oh, good, I'm still muted over here. Because you would have hated that. What's going on, guys? It is Zerilath. I am here. I brought Lockout. Let me see if I can let's get the big guy in frame. Well, I'm gonna be, you know, you can see his tail. People won't even friggin' notice he's there unless he starts moving. Hi, buddy. If he chills like that, it'll be a nice, easy show. All right. So I'm rolling with the new Septic Flesh, which opens with the vampire from Nazareth. So we're in prime territory here. Let's see. Bang. All right, so we're going to keep it on the short side. It's a work night, and, today I got home without really needing to run any errands whatsoever. And so I got enough time to meditate, take care of a few short things, put everything else I need to do together. My life takes time by myself. I have to do all my own cleaning. I have to do all my own cooking. I don't like to do cheatings on cookings. So, I'm preparing food from time to time. I'm grinding my own coffee beans with a hand grinder, an antique grinder. I filter my water and have to go through a process with a pitcher, right? A lot of people don't want to fucking bother to do this. But it must be done if you want the longevity of your life to also have vitality. Let's just say I find the will to not get myself killed and I'm over fucking 60. Right? I want to have a fully functioning machine to live at 60 with. Which, fuck me, is 15 years from now. Maybe I should say 70. I don't know. So, let's see. I believe we will start here then with audio set again. And, 235. We're like about 111 pages till we're done with this book, too. Adios said again, may my share in the world to come be with those who perform their morning devotion as soon as the sun begins to rise. Again said he, may my share be with those who die of abdominal disease, for the master said that most of the righteous die of bowel troubles. That's an interesting statement. The righteous die of bowel troubles. I wonder what that precisely means, right? There's a lot to say about the metaphysical symbolism of the bowels, right? Whether the Jews know it their way or whether they know it the way before their way. Like I said, things are getting really delineated now between pre and post Anunnaki. An important delineation for the sake of not insulting things, not for political correctness, just for the sake of correctness, because correctness is okay. In fact, correctness would be the ideal preferred. We just can't be irrational about how we correct our incorrectness, especially if we may not be correct about the correction. Anyway, let's stop going round and round. He also said, may my share be with those who die when about to fulfill a commandment. Also, with those who receive the Sabbath in Tiberias and see it out in Zipporias. Tiberias was in a valley, and Zipporias on a hill. Also with those who remain in the houses of learning, and not with those who attempt to draw scholars away from their studies. Also with those who solicit alms, but not with those who dispense alms. Also with those who are suspected, but are not guilty, said Arpapa. I have been suspected, but was not guilty, said Archios. I have gone in unto my wife 5 times and have planted 5 cedars in Israel. Who are they? Are Ishmael, are Eliza, are Halafta, are Tiles, and are Menahem, all sons of Arios. But he also had a son called Vradamos. Nay, Vradamos is the name as Arminahem, and the reason he was called Vradamos was because his face was as beautiful as a rose. Vrad is Aramaic for rose. So this guy, they gave him an Aramaic name, even, much like the many names we read in Josephus' War, where this is just a lot of freaking Greek, Aramaic named Jews all over the effing place. There were different kinds of people. Their names kind of tell you a thing or two about where they really come from, who they really are, right? With this broken civilization trying to remend itself in Rome without the correct parts and operating more like a tumor on the empire, infecting their ideas with the empire while they had their favor. And, and then getting rejected, but yet still they got rejected, but the people took the new program from those, probably like Josephus, who had an agenda to install that program in Rome on behalf of the various peeps like the Melchizedek. I'd imagine maybe the Melchizedek would say that would be a fitting vengeance, is to get into Rome and dismantle it from the inside. I mean, how else would you respond to the destruction of your temple and yada, yada, yada? What you doing? I need my arm now, buddy. Okay. Let's see here. All right. But was not guilty. Aramaic rose. Okay, so. Said Archios again, in all my days, the ceiling of my house never saw the seam of my undershirt. Again, said B, I never acted contrary to the advice of my colleagues. I know well that I am not a descendant of priests, but when my colleagues ask me to pronounce a benediction, usually said by priests, I did so. Again he said, I never said a thing that I afterwards repented having said. Nahman said, may it be accounted to me for my reward that I've observed the 3 meals in honor of the Sabbath. Yehuda said, may it be accounted to me that I have given my prayers preliminary consideration. Arhuna, the son of Yahshua, said, may it be accounted to me that I have never walked 4 ells with uncovered head. Shesheth said, may it be accounted to me that I have observed commandments of Sisith, or the show threads. Where you going? Where you going? Get here. Hey. Come here, buddy. Ugh. Said Archios to Joseph, the son of Rab, canst thou tell me which commandment thy father observed most punctually? The answer was the commandment of Zitzith, for it happened one day that don't you eat my hair. My father was ascending the stairway, and a thread of its zith becoming torn off, he would not leave his place until a new thread had been brought to him, and the tzitzith were mended. Said Abai, may it be accounted to me that whenever I noticed a young scholar of my colleagues had finished a tract of the Talmud, I gave a feast to all the sages of the day, said Rab. May it be accounted to me that whenever a young scholar and another man came before me for judgment, I did not put my head on the pillow, rest until I exhausted every to find the scholar's words prove the justice of his claim. Said Mar, the son of Arashi, I am unfit to judge a young scholar because I love him as well as I do myself, and no man see himself unjust. Arhanina used to wrap himself in a cloak on the eve of Sabbath and say, come with me and let us go toward Sabbath the queen. Aryanai used to clothe himself in his holiday clothes on the eve of Sabbath and say, come bride, come bride. You know, now by the way here, I kind of want to think to myself that because there's so much discord anyway in what the Talmud is that even though that's in there, and maybe even there's agreement as far as what's written, like, I don't know, not necessarily this book, but like also in these other reference points in context, right? It's almost, you know, it's just like, you can take it or leave it that he's burning in hell, rotting in feces and all that. Yeah, as one of these guys, right? I think it depends on exactly how much you are putting together of each one of these individuals, right? And like, the question is, were there records lost of where it was set in stone final judgment? Or was it always supposed to be looked at upon as these records while the office of this bureaucracy was still intact, or you just were there to source it and cite it and you knew it? Right? Hey, buddy. Leaping around, eh? Try not to knock everything over, sir. All right. Rabbah, the son of Arhuna, came as a guest to the house of Rabbah, the son of Ar-Nahman. Why do they have names anyway that sound so close to rabbi? Don't they don't they ever like say like we gotta stop like using Rabbah as a name, right? Or it's just like, but there's some reason why they gotta have names like Rabbah to get confused with rabbi. I'm sure if one of them has a fucking speech, what do they do if they got a Jew with a speech impediment and he's confusing everybody, right? Son of Naaman. At the table, 3 cakes steeped in the fat of the ram, which were only served on special occasions, were placed before him. Said he to his host, didst thou know that I would come to visit thee? Answered the host, art thou then better than the Sabbath? We prepare it usually for every Sabbath, as it is written, and thou shalt call the Sabbath a pleasure. Our Eba used to buy on the eve of every Sabbath 13 istaris, 6.5 dinars. So you get the 13 is coming into play here. And it's 6.5 dinars. Which is interesting because 6.5 is half of 13. Alright, he's crawling up into a little crawl space. He'll be fine, but I'm going to have to make a mess to pull him out, though. He's probably going up to the high spot. Yep. Yeah. That'll be easy enough to pull him out. He wants to get elevated. Alright, make haste. Okay, hold on. Worth of meat from 13 different butchers, and would hand them the money immediately upon their entering his door and delivering the meat, saying to them, make haste, and deliver your orders to others. Now, remember, this is also putting the mysticism of 13, because the Talmud was assembled, as I understand it, maybe around like 500 AD is what I basically heard, right? So you're talking about the use of 13 well before the slaughter of the Templars. And 13, you see, it's what they call that what is it, a baker's dozen or whatever, where you have 13 eggs instead of 12. And the 13 represents the 13 tribes, but there were really only 12 tribes, and somehow this one tribe was a bud off. It's kind of almost an anomaly. And yet it's codified as 13. It's the 13 bloodlines by that merit, right? So it's really supposed to be 12 in the first place. So there's contention that's been created because the 12 was in divine accord because it's within the spectrum of the 369 as 12 reduces to 3, and the many other divine aspects of 12 in our numerology that I'm not going to go into right now. So the 13 has we need to repurpose the 13, right? And find a deeper meaning instead of just telling our little history fairy tales about Templar annihilations and stuff of this nature, right? Numbers, the number 13 existed well before, it'll exist well after, and there will always be something happening in which 13 would be a wizard's choice in part of the numerology of their spellcraft. Anyway. Our Abua used to sit on an ivory stool and make fire in honor of the Sabbath. Our Anan used to don a black apron in order to show that this day, the eve of the Sabbath, was a day of preparation and that work had to be performed for the Sabbath. Our Safra used to singe a cow's head himself for the Sabbath, and Rabba would salt fish himself. Our Huna would light candles himself. Our Papa would prepare the wicks for the lamps. Our Hista would cut herbs himself. Rabba and Our Yosef would chop wood for Sabbath. Our Zera would light the kindling wood. Our Nahaman and Ba'itzhak would shoulder all burdens. He was probably the beast of the group, right? That's me. I'd be the Nahaman in the group. It'd be like just put it on the fucking shoulder. Let's go. Come on. I got it. This is what I'm doing at work every fucking day. Right. So, yeah. So, so hold on. So are these 13 guys? Hold on a second. Let me go through this. Okay. So Esther 6 saying to them, make haste. Used to sit. Okay, yeah. So you got Abuaz 1. Anan. Sorry, hon. Used to don a black apron on this day on the 7th of the day preparation and work hard to Javeth. Safra. Rabba. Huna. Papa. That's 5. Hista, 6. Rabba. Yosef. Zera. Nahman. That's actually 10. Would shoulder all burdens, but hold on. To be carried in the house of the Sabbath, saying if Ar-Ami or Ar-Asi would come to visit me, would I not do the same for them? Others say that Ar-Ami and Asi did not this on the eve of every Sabbath, saying, if it should happen that Ar-Yohanan were to visit us, would we not do the same for him? Okay. So hold on a second before I continue. All right, so that's the end of the listing. So what's interesting is that that's 10. That goes to 10, but then, even though they're not part of this listing, that these are like extra, right? But the numbers, but they get us there, because you got Ar-Ami and Ar-Asi. That's 12. Right there would come to visit. They come together. One could almost say there's a Gemini aspect to that. Would I not do the same for them? Others say Ar-Ami and Ar-Ami and Asi did the son of every Sabbath if it should happen that Ar-Yohanan, and that's 13. So there's 3 more guys. That's 13. So there is 13. There's 10 plus 3 wild cards. Interesting. I think that's relevant. I think that has something to do with what's going on with the tribes there. Because remember, like I said, the issue with Trump is that he's a bloodline that hasn't been, has not had a victory in a lot of the West in a long time, right? Like House of Orange is very, it's kind of like it's in its Dutch space or whatever. I was talking to Stein about this a few weeks ago, and he was explaining some of the House of Orange people that are still here and of prominence, right? So House of Orange is not, America. The secret infrastructure is not accustomed to House of Orange, but because they are bloodline by all of the fucking things that happen behind the scenes, they're on par. And there's just a different kind of fight, a different kind of circus, because they are a different player on the psyche and the codes, and here to introduce new things. And it is our job to fight their agenda, but also to curate what comes from it that is actually not theirs, but effectively identifying when they are stealing our birthright. Where did he go? He's down. He's back there somewhere. That's all right. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yosef, who honored the Sabbath, had a rich Gentile for a neighbor. The astrologers told the Gentile that all his goods and possessions would eventually be eaten up by Yosef. His neighbor, he went and sold out all his goods, and with the proceeds bought a precious pearl. This pearl he had set in his turban. While crossing a lake one day, the wind blew off his turban and it fell into the water. A fish swallowed it. Subsequently, the fish was caught by the fishermen late on the eve of Sabbath. Said the fishermen, "Who will buy this so late in the evening?" They were told by some people to go to Joseph, who honored the Sabbath, and that he usually bought such things. They carried to Yosef, who bought it, and upon opening the fish, he found the pearl, which he sold for 13 boxes of golden dinars. A certain old man met this Yosef and said to him, "He who leads to the Sabbath is repaid by the Sabbath itself." Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi asked for Ishmael, the son of Arios, "By what act did the rich men of Palestine, so wealthy, merit their wealth?" Now, hold on one second. And hi, Jim William Goy. How you doing? When they move, but the 13 would be the 12th when they move as one. Yeah, there may be something, there may be some merit to that. I mean, it's really just because the 13th tribe is a derivative of one of the tribes. So it's kind of a nonsense, but it's still like, they still did the ritual to make them a bona fide bloodline, right? They still did what they had to do and went through. Let me pick up. Let's go to a break here. I got to pick up my buddy anyway before he gets into weird places. All right. So here's the next. Here's the next song. All right, we're back. A great mass of death. Anyway, so I'll probably be wrapping it up at the top of the hour. All right. So like I said, it's gonna be a short one tonight. It's a work night. I'm enjoying being slightly more responsible, but getting some shit done. So we were talking about the wealth merit their wealth. So by what acts did the rich men of Palestine, so wealthy, merit their wealth? Now, I don't think that this matters with the place we are calling Palestine now, because this is probably in reference to what was up with Roman Palestine post State of Israel. He answered, because they gave tithes, as it is written in Deuteronomy 14:22, thou shalt truly give tithes. By what acts did the rich men of Babylon merit their wealth? Asked Rabbi again. Because they keep the law honorably, was the reply. And what about the rich men of other lands? Because they honor the Sabbath, as Arhaya bar Eba related. It happened that I was a guest in the house of a man in the city of Ludkai, and a golden table was brought for me, which required 16 men to carry, and 16 silver chains were fastened to it, and bowls, pitchers, goblets, glasses were hung on those chains, and on the table were all kinds of food and beverages and spices. And when the table was set down, they said, unto the Lord belongeth the earth. With what filleth it? Psalms 24:1. And when the table was taken away, they said, the heavens are the heavens of the Lord, but the earth hath he given unto the children of men. Psalms XCV 16. I said to my host, my son, how didst thou merit all this? Said he, I used to be a butcher, and whenever I came across a good animal, I would keep it for the Sabbath. Said I to him, well, is unto thee that thou hast merited this, and praise be to God who hath rewarded thee. Said the Exarch to Arhamuna, it is written, Isaiah LV3I 13, which is something 8. I think it's like what? That's 58:13, I think, with the L. The holy day of the Lord honorable. What does this honorable signify? Hamnuna answered. It means the Day of Atonement, on which day there is no eating and no drinking, and hence the Torah says, thou shalt honor it with clean clothes. Further it says, Ibid, thou shalt honor it. This evidently does not refer to the Day of Atonement, which is called honorable, but must again refer to the Sabbath. How then should it be honored? Said Rab, thou shalt make the usual time of thy meals earlier. And Samuel said, thou shalt postpone the ordinary meal hour. The children of Arpapa bar Eba asked Arpapa, how shall we, who have meat and wine every day, distinguish the Sabbath day? He answered, if ye usually have your meals at a late hour, have them earlier, and if at an early hour, have them later. If Arshasheth, who was blind, in the summer used to seat his pupils, who came to hear him lecture on Sabbath in a place where the sun shone earliest, in order that they might become warm and leave, and in the winter used to seat them where the sun could not reach them, that they might become cold and leave the sooner. Arzera, when seeing his pupils standing in pairs and discussing the Torah on the Sabbath, used to say to them, I pray ye, go home, eat, drink, and be merry. Do not violate the Sabbath. It is made for pleasure and not for learning. Rabbah, according to others, Yahshua ben Levi said. Now think about all this forever. They want to have the audacity to tell you that the Sabbath is for pleasure. And yet, you are, like, this is all fucking anxiety. Everything you have to remember to not do if you don't want to have to deal with a fucking sin offering. And that's their idea of your day off. A mind game to make you feel like you didn't fuck up this week. Pathetic. Rabbah, according to others, Yahshua ben Levi said, even a man who prays singly on the Sabbath eve must recite the prayer commencing with, thus we're finished, etc. Genesis 2, 1 through 3. Wow, that's kind of interesting that they're citing Genesis 2, 1 through 3. Every man who prays singly in the Sabbath eve must recite the prayer commencing with, thus we're finished. Really? Just for praying singly, you have to cite Genesis 2, which that's like Adam and Eve stuff. Like, let me take a peek here. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished in all their host. Right. On the sixth day, the Elohim finished his work that he had made, and he ceased on the seventh day from all his work that he had made. Right. Okay, so right. So they're just making it archaic to all of that. So at the same time, because this whole law goes back to this Genesis idea, and by the way, here's a little tip for you. Notice the language here. So this goes on the sixth day, and Elohim blessed the seventh day, created by making it. Then on verse 4, it goes, these are the chronological records of the heavens. They did that to fuck with you. These 3 verses are actually the 32nd, 3rd, and 4th verses of chapter 1. That's a game they played where they stole these 3 verses and then threw this in here in the middle so you don't think that you're so that way you forget that each chapter was its own scroll and people were putting the scrolls together in the proper order and such. Because then you get into verse 4 is the beginning of chapter 2 for real. Keep that in mind, right? But this here is like, because they did this actually could be a hint to why we're in a loop. That you've got these 3 days, like the 3 fucking rabbis that are misplaced. 3 verses of chapter 1 misplaced to make the beginning of a chapter sound like the end of a story, which is poetically great. But that's not why they did it. These are the chronological records. Okay. Zera, when seeing his pupils standing in pairs and discussing the thought. Okay, I read all that. Collaborator creation of the world. That's right. Oh, yeah. So Elizar said, whence do we know that speaking is equal to acting as it is written in Psalms 33:6? By the word of the Lord were the heavens made. By Arhista is the name of Mar Ukba, he who on the Sabbath recites the prayer commencing with, thus were finished, etc., has the hands of the two angels who accompanying each man laid on his head, and they say to him, Isaiah 6:7, and thy iniquity is departed, and thy sin is forgiven. Has the hands of the two angels who accompany each man laid on his head, and they say to him. That's interesting. It's made. He who was on the Sabbath. Okay, Isaiah 6:7. I want to check that out. Okay, hold on. I think I know about this. Hands of the two angels accompanying each man laid on his head. Yeah, okay. So, he touched it to my mouth and said, behold, this has touched your lips, and your depravity is withdrawn, and a proprietary shelter is made for your sin. Or a propitiatory. Yeah, I think I got that right. The word is a thukfir, it looks like. What is that? Okay, that's a kafar. To cover specifically with butamin, expiry to condone, to placate, or to cancel. Right. So if I remember this correctly, this is the seraphim, right? Then one of the seraphim flew to me. That's right. Isaiah was taken up to heaven. Yeah, so in the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw Yahweh sitting on a throne high and lifted up, and his skirts were filling the temple. Yes. Yahweh was wearing a skirt. He was wearing a skirt for some reason, right? I want to double check that real quick. And skirts of him. What is it? Shul. Kind of sounds like Sheol, too. From an unused root meaning to hang down. Okay. Okay, it just means to hang down. So that doesn't have to mean skirt. I can think of other things that are hanging down. But anyway, seraphim were standing above him with 6 wings to each one, with 2 each covered his face and 2 covered his. So, like, that's the right. Yeah, so 6-winged angel, which, doubles to 12. It doesn't put you in the 13 category. Keep that in mind. And this one called to that one and said, Holy, holy, holy Yahweh of hosts, the fullness of the whole earth manifests his glory, right? So one could look at this. You get the throne of God, you get the 2 seraphim. You can be looking at an allegory for the throne of God being kind of like the whole of the mind, if you will. You could get into the pineal gland of it all. And then each of the seraphim being each hemisphere of the brain. Right? One, a principle of the divine left and the divine right. Right? So all this is going on, and these seraphim had the power to bestow a cleansing on him through this stuff, and they perform a procedure on him to take care of it. Then I heard the voice of Yahweh saying, "Whom shall I send? And he shall go to this nation." So I answered, "Behold me, send me." Then he said, "Go, and you will say to this people, Hear ye hear, yet do not understand, and see ye see, yet do not know." And it goes into a whole thing because of other stuff that Isaiah is doing. Okay, so the two angels accompanied each man, laid on their head, and they said to him, "Thy iniquity is depraved, for the sin is forgiven." Right. So they're saying, so listen, typically a lot of people have a form of this when they close their evocations in Spellcrest. Some people for invocations or whatever. I don't invoke or whatever. I do evocation. And we'll say things like, "and so it is." I often say, "and so it is," at the end of an evocation. We have learned in Boretha, Arios bar Yehuda said, two angels accompanying a man on Sabbath Eve on his way home from the house of prayers. One is a good angel and the other an evil one. Oh, look at this. It's the angel shoulders. Is this where it fucking comes from? Does this bit come from the Talmud? Oh, this is rich. Ha! All right. "And when the man comes home and finds the candles lit, the table set, and his bed made up, the good angel says, May it be the will of God that the next Sabbath shall be the same. And the evil angel answers, Amen, involuntarily. If, however, the man does not find everything in order, the evil angel says, Mayst thou find it so on the next Sabbath also. And the good angel answers against his own will. Amen. Okay, so here you have your left-hand and right-hand psyches duking it out over your conduct as a man, right? And are you prepared to have your day to receive God at the end of the week or not? Right? And one angel wants you to take a goddamn fucking break before you kill yourself, and the other angel wants to keep you right and true. And if you keep ignoring that angel, that's when your daemon starts to get vicious, starts to haunt you, because you are forgetting your purpose, and he can't tell you what your fucking purpose is, because the daemon, unlike the quote demon, is a benevolence. It's you know, in many contexts the Greeks were using daemon like the way we talk about our philia, our luck spirits and such. This is a, you know, this is a genius of a sort in your company. And the Talmud is covertly left-hand path, because it creates this atmosphere for that angel to constantly press you, because you don't want to question the rabbis, because that's questioning God. right? And things can, and you don't know how far astray because you are in control, and both of these angels are serving you because you're deciding which angel really says that. Our Elazar said, a man should set his table on the Sabbath eve, although he may not be hungry and can eat not more than the size of an olive. Ar Hanina said, a man should set his table on the eve following the Sabbath, though he may not be hungry and can eat but the size of one olive. See, I like that. See, that's okay. Like, I get that. It's just like, have the, like, you need a small vessel because the meal you're having on the Sabbath is kind of like, you know, that baseline daily bread, if you will. It's the cracker of communion, right? So when you become a Jew, you're all part of the family. You work together, and you have the meals that you're gonna have. You like have a better meal, definitely eat better as a Jew. I mean, like, you're going to have fucking your 3 meals a day as a Christian, obviously. I'm being funny. But, like, the point is that, you know, they put a meal into their not ritual. Their ritual that isn't a ritual, right? We only, you know, we do that, but we've secularized the meal part of it. You know, you'll go to Easter Mass, and then you'll have Easter lunch or whatever afterwards, and it's, you know, and like maybe you'll say grace or something like that, and the Christian, you know, the presence of Jesus and the Lord will be there and all that, but that's really it. You get what I mean? So this is also in honor of the Sabbath and is like the accompanying of the king at his departure. Warm water at the close of the Sabbath day is wholesome. Warm bread at that time is also wholesome. Oh, wholesome. It's got to be wholesome. You know, unless you're dying of something, then you can rip a fucking fetus out of an ass's uterus and place it on your head. But otherwise, be wholesome. The hypocrisy. I love it. No, I hate it actually, but I love the jokes that I can make about it. That I wish I didn't have to make about it. And not because it makes me feel better, but because I think they need to feel some shame about taking this shit so fucking seriously, when you can just see what's going on with everybody else who's taking care of themselves, and why they don't see why they wouldn't do those things. That's not healthy to do, habitually speaking, right? Yeah, anyway, all right, I think with the wholesome bit, and it's 7 o'clock now, I think that'll do. So here we are at 2:38. You know, just a couple of pages, just an hour tonight. Sorry I can't do more, but we'll see how things go. I probably don't want to do a stream tomorrow. I think I want to have a personal day. So I might do a car stream, naturally, because it might be something to talk about. I think the State of the Union is tonight or some shit. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace.